Yes, good people, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all doing well out there. So today we're going to be doing a bit of work on this Squier Classic Vibe 70s Jaguar that I recently purchased off eBay. I paid £165 for this. She's a 2021 model in a 3-colour sunburst. She's a clean guitar, but she does have a bit of a major flaw with it. So when I first spotted this guitar on eBay, it was advertised with a bit of a major fault. She has a warped neck. So in the listing, the seller was stating that the bottom 2 strings, the high E and the B string, from around the 12th fret onwards, it bottoms out. I thought for 165 quid, it's still cheap anyway, it's a sweet guitar. It arrived a few days later, I had a little play around with it, and I found out if you raise the action on the lower 3 strings just a little bit, it sort of tends to go away, but not ideal. So I had a good little look at it, and to be honest, it doesn't look too bowed. I can see where they're coming from, but I got a feeling it's probably something more to do with the neck pocket as opposed to the actual neck itself. It's a 2021 model. Generally, what tends to happen with older guitars is people lean them up against the wall, and that's generally what warps the necks on them. Obviously, old wood as well, it can deform, but I don't actually think this neck is warped. When I was taking a closer look, when you look at the heel of the neck where it meets the pick guard and like the bottom of the fingerboard, you can see a bit of maple there, and it does look like it's a little bit higher on this side as opposed to that side. But you know, for the price, it's definitely worth a gamble. So I reckon what we're going to do in today's video is take it all apart, take the strings off, take the neck off, see what's going on in that neck pocket. While we're there, we'll give it a clean up, give it a full setup, put some fresh strings on. I've got some Fender 10 gauge strings to go on, and then see how she sets back up. So fingers crossed it's an easy fix, but worst case, if it's a slight improvement, I'm happy with that. And you know, for the price, this is a pretty sweet guitar. So I reckon next one we should do is get her on the desk and start taking her apart. Right, so first job, get the strings off. Make sure you slacken the strings off before you start cutting them, because that's not very good for the truss rod. So these have got the vintage tuners, so once you loosen them off enough, the strings just pop out. So now we've got all the strings out the tuners. We need to snip the strings. Bust them out. So somebody did a set of Dario strings on this. I think these were 10s. They do originally come with 9 gauge strings. So I think somebody made an effort, but they sound pretty flat and yeah, they're a bit manky. Alright, so we're going to be flipping this guitar over. So we need to remove the bridge. Oh, somebody's had a little play around with that. Okay, so the little ferrules come out with it. Somebody's been watching the channel, put some electric tape around the bottom of the bridge. Sweet. In fact, I'll take that out, because that is a little bit weird. Yeah, so we're turning over, and then I'm going to undo the back of the neck. Cool, that is in tight. I wonder if somebody's tightening these down a little bit too much. Oh man, that's tight. I can hear it like cracking. That's actually in at an angle as well. Right, I need to find a better screwdriver for that. Whoops, not a screwdriver, but should be a better fit. Loosen that off. Yeah, these are in proper tight. I'm wondering, when they changed the strings, somebody decided to have a little play around with this and do something they shouldn't have done, really. That's why I always say on your neck screws, don't use power tools to tighten them up. They don't feel like they're in perfectly straight. Right, that's the last one out. So I'm going to carefully turn this over. Gently remove this neck because I don't want the paint to crack. Oh yeah. Well, you can see that, but there's some frayed bits of wood in there. There you go. Wonder if that could be the culprit. That was the side it was sticking up on as well. Yeah, there's a lot of filings in there, wood filings. Oh yeah, there's loads in there. Let me show you that side. That'll be enough for it not to seat correctly. See all that? So that could be the culprit. It looks like it's been sanded there as well. So somebody's definitely had a little play around with this. So looking straight on down the neck now itself, you know what? That is straight, without a doubt. So what I'm doing now is just checking the gaps sort of at both ends and in the middle, just to make sure it's not sort of twisted where it shouldn't be, kind of thing, but looks quite consistent all the way across. It's got a lot of relief in the neck. I don't know how that comes across, but you can see it there around the 8th fret. Right, so I think what I'm going to do now is straighten it off, and yeah, I think that neck is actually fine. So it's taken pretty much 2 turns. It's still not quite there, but it does take a little while for the wood to catch up. So I'll let that sit for probably half an hour and then we'll come back and check it again. But that was definitely a little bit out. Okay, so I left it a good half hour or so and it's definitely caught up now, so the neck is completely level. So what I'm going to do now is start cleaning up the fingerboard with some lemon oil. The frets are pretty much like new and shiny, so they don't really need a lot of work. I'll just give it a good clean up, wipe the frets down with a bit of cloth just to shine them up a little bit. Clean the headstock, clean the guitar body. Once we've got it all cleaned up, then we can start putting the strings on and giving it a proper setup. So I was cleaning the body up with this Gibson guitar polish. So I just noticed the nut on the output socket is loose, so we need to take this little panel off just to tighten that up so we can get behind it and hold the back of it. Oh, okay. Somebody's been doing a bit of work on this. So on the tone pot, somebody's put a full-size pot in there with a, I'm not sure the rating of that, but somebody's definitely been messing around with this. So it's got a little treble bleed capacitor in there. Okay. So that's a nice little upgrade. Shame we've never done the volume pot at the same time. Now these are normally 10mm, but this is 11mm. Right, let's get that back on. So after nearly 7 years of YouTube and reviewing and modifying hundreds of guitars, I finally run out of my Jim Dunlop 65 lemon oil. So I bought myself a minty fresh new one with a, oh yeah, lovely soft applicator. So that's gonna, Oh, I forgot how well this comes out when they're new bottles. So this fingerboard is Indian laurel and it was very dry, so this is gonna soak in quite well. Don't worry about using your finger, it won't kill you. So as the fingerboard was so dry, that absorbed in really quickly. I may give it another light coat. But I must admit, that is actually quite a nice cut of wood in there. Looks like it's gone for a nice dark section in there. Yeah, digging that. And she has got a nice finish to the back of the neck there as well. Yeah, I'm liking that. Right, so time to get the neck back on. I've made sure this is all nice and smooth. There's no wood shavings or anything in there, so yeah, let's get it back in. It is a bit of a tight fit. Like I said before, don't use power tools. Putting these screws back in. So just before I fully tighten it down, just making sure everything lines up. All that's good. And then we'll go for it. But I'm not going to do it as tight as it was before. They seem to be going in better than they looked when I was taking them out. You don't need to go mad with these, just nip them down. And a quick look down the neck. That actually looks bang on straight now. See, now she's back on. What I was talking about before was the distance between the bottom of the binding and the pick guard. You can see the maple in between. But now she looks perfectly flush, where before it was just a little bit lifted up this side. So fingers crossed that was the issue. So today's strings, I'm going with some Fender 10 gauge Super 250s, nickel plated steel ball end strings, 10 to 46, and these are my preferred scale on a Jaguar and a Mustang. Some people like 1112s on a Jaguar, but I like the slinkiness and the twangy chime you get with these strings. So just before I fit the strings, I need to sort out this ferrule that was sort of loose in the body. I was going to stick a little bit of Gorilla wood glue in there, just a little smidge. There you go. Just to stop that moving around. So I'm just going to let that sit for about half an hour, and then I'll come back and fit the strings. So one last job before we put the strings on is the bridge. Now a bridge on a Jaguar is a floating bridge, so what it means, it sits in them ferrules with them parts and it's sort of loose, so when you're bending the wiggle stick, the bridge moves with it. But what I like to do is put some electrical tape round to prevent that movement, because in my experience of owning Jaguars and Jazzmasters for over 20 years, it knocks them out of tune pretty easy. So like I say, somebody's already beat me to it on this one, but that will help with tuning stability. So these Jaguars have the vintage style tuners, so how I string these is I count 2 tuning pegs across, I cut the string there. Don't know where that bit went, but right, then we move these so they're facing at an angle, and then you feed the string down the little shaft till you reach the bottom, and then bend it over, turn it around like that, and then just tighten her up. Just make sure you're pressing down on the string and sort of lifting up with whatever fingers you can get around it. Make sure you've got it lined up down the other end of the guitar. Just keep the tension on the string to stop it popping out. And there you go. And then repeat that for all 6. So when you get down to your last 2 strings and you haven't got more 2 tuners to count out, you need to get a bit creative. So you mark out where your string's going to go, pull it back, and then you can count 2 more, so we know we need to snip that around about there. And I'll show you once again. Get the tuner, the little slots facing to the side, put the string down the shaft, pull it down, bend it round, lock it in place, and then tighten her up. Just remember to make sure you got your string winder before you're doing this, because this has taken a long time. Yeah. So we now have the strings on. I've got it all tuned up, but because we've taken the neck off, we've made some big drastic changes in the neck relief, and again taking the neck off, putting it back on, new strings, it's a bit of a shock to the system. So before I go fully setting it all up, I was just going to let it sit overnight just to make sure things settle in, because if I set it up now, give it a couple of days, it's all going to be out of whack. So just going to, like I say, let it settle in. I will stretch the strings as well, give them a good stretch, so you keep pulling them and then tuning it till that string stays in tune. But what I will quickly check is the last 2 strings, they were just fretting out. Yep, I think that solved the problem, because before you couldn't even get like a half bend, it would just completely fret out. Obviously it's not set up properly yet, but that is a promising sign. So yeah, I'm going to stretch these strings out, keep doing that till it sort of stays in tune, let it set overnight. I'll come back in the morning, I'll set it all up. Yeah, she's coming along well, but I'm really pleased. I can sleep well tonight knowing that that wasn't a warped neck, that was just a lot of schmuck in there and possibly over tightened, and with the amount of relief and bow in that neck, no wonder she was playing badly. But yeah, we're getting there. So I'm going to come back in the morning. Okay, so it's the following morning. I've let the guitar set overnight. I had a little play around with it last night, and the setup does feel pretty darn good as it is, but we're just going to double check everything right now. I know the intonation is definitely a mile out, but so first of all we're just going to check the relief on the neck. So I put a capo on the 1st fret, and then where the body meets the neck, that fret, we're going to push that one down, and then on the 8th fret I want to measure around about 0.25, 0.3 mil. So yeah, we are bang on there. The neck relief is perfect. So now we can move on to the string height. So I want 1.5mm on the low E side string, 1.25mm on the high E string. Now this is a 9.5 radius bridge, so this matches the radius of the fingerboard. So all we have to do is adjust sort of either end. As long as we get that string right, the rest of them will match. So on the 12th fret, like I say, 1.5mm. So just need to drop that down just a tad. And then the high E, again, that's just a little bit too high. Oh. There you go. So what you want to do in between making adjustments, you want to make sure it's tuned back up. So I'm just going to tune this up, double check that again, adjust it if necessary. In terms of the pickup height on this, it looks pretty much bang on, but what I'll do is just check with the neck pickup on its own, the bridge pickup on its own, and I sort of level the sound off to make sure they're pretty even. I just don't want these pickups too close to the string, else the magnets start pulling them. But maybe that one, the bridge one, needs to come down a little bit, but I'll do that off camera. So now we've got the action and the string height set, I'm going to move on to the intonation. I generally like doing this in the playing position just because it's easier to gauge it. But basically what you want to do is play an open string, in this case the low E, make sure it's in tune, and then you want the octave, which is on the 12th fret. Play that and make sure they're both in tune together. So if you need to make an adjustment, if it's too sharp or flat, you've got a screw on the back of the bridge there, just turn that over in or out. That'll move this little saddle there to compensate which way you want to go. Once you get the open string and the octave tuned together, you can move on to the next string. So always make sure when you intonate a guitar that you do it with brand new strings or it won't intonate correctly. So just going to go through all these. Once we're done, I reckon we should plug her in and give her a little test run. There you go, she is all up and running and she plays sweet. It is a great neck on this. I love these Jaguars and I'm quite happy that a gamble paying £165 for a guitar on eBay with a warped neck paid off. But I think it was a mixture of all the schmuck in the neck pocket there, over tightened bolts, and somebody getting a bit too generous on the neck relief. But we took it all apart, we set it all up, put some new strings on, and she plays damn good. So when I was playing this in a demo, I had both the pickups turned on. These are Fender designed Alnico pickups. They do sound pretty awesome. I was going for the Marshall MA50 tube amp. I was also trying out this Sonny Cake Matry box. Sonny Cake recently sent me this to demo in the channel. I will do a full review of this, but I must admit that is a pretty sweet little set. So yeah, that'll probably wrap it up for today. Hope you enjoyed the video, bringing this £165 Squier Classic Vibe Jaguar back to life. Took a little bit of a setup, but we got there in the end, and she is one sweet guitar. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Instagram, the Guitar Manifesto, and stay tuned for more videos. I'll catch you all very soon. Thanks for watching. Peace.